welcome to the second part of network system security. Hopefully, you guys have done okay in the first assignment. I need to check it because I'm obviously recording this prior to marking everything, so we'll see how that goes. But this is going to be your second part of your assignment for P2 and for M1. It's pretty much similar to the first part, but it's going over how to actually protect your network system against threats like this. And I've put other materials on. You'll see quite a few other videos go up that aren't mine, because they explain it with better tools and better resources than what I have here. I will try and get better resources and tools here, especially if we are looking into going into another lockdown potentially, because I'm not going to be able to get anything else to actually help with the videos. But that being said, I'm going to go straight into it. So, with uh, network system security, whoops, that's going onto my drawing, ignore that. With network system security, what we'll be doing this week is, like I said, we'll be looking at how network systems can be protected. The merit task is saying how different intrusion detection systems work. So obviously there's protection, and there's also actually detecting that someone's been in, because you can protect something but then not know if somebody's tried to break in or not. It's like if you locked your house at home, when you go out, how do you know if anybody's tried to get in? Because that is a completely separate thing than it being protected. Like, your house is protected because it's locked, but obviously you don't know if anybody's tried to break in. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So, with network protection, obviously there's thousands of ways of protecting your network. There is so many different ways on protecting it. It depends on obviously what you need protecting and what you're using your network for. So, defensive security would need to be put in place in order for obviously stop it being protected, because some networks are more reactive than actually putting security in place beforehand. So it might be that some defensive features only activate after the network's being attacked. Obviously, you'll need to put defensive security in place as well, just to stop it from happening in the first place. You will need both. So, as I said, intrusion detection systems are used to pick up if a network's being attacked or infected by a virus or anything like that. Like, that's what IDSs are used for, because it might be that a virus is attacking a network, but you won't notice it because nothing's telling you that. That's why you've got an intrusion detection system. So what about actual physical security? Obviously, you've got stuff like biometrics. A lot of phones now use biometrics to get onto your phone. Obviously, some buildings can use that, and some actual computers can use that. Some things use facial ID and stuff like that, which is obviously biometrics. RFID chip doors. So again, RFIDs are little little wireless chips that you can use, that you can put over doors or put onto, again, PC systems if you need to get into them, like cards or anything like that. So you don't actually need a physical card to get on stuff. Sticky MAC addressing, we would have covered last year if not for lockdown, and I think I put it on networking. I'm not sure how many people did it, but what I'm going to say to everybody is, if you don't know what sticky MAC addressing is, you need to look at my notes from last year. And a few of you will have, because a few of you actually kept up with the work and didn't bother just completely shutting this off during lockdown. Quite a lot of you did. So what I'm going to say to you, to those who couldn't be bothered, you need to be bothered now and have a look at it, because I'm not going to go over it here. So you can look at it on my other stuff that I did over lockdown. So the final method of protection will be combating this problem. Obviously, if all else fails, so I've already mentioned that obviously the stuff that's reactive after the fact, because there might be. So antivirus is quite a common one. That does not stop a virus from coming onto your system. It removes it after your system's been infected. So that's more of a countermeasure after something's attacked your network. Obviously, if it's a virus, an antivirus is not going to stop it as soon as it comes onto your system. Before it comes onto your system, it will stop it after it's come onto your system. But this is just basically a general overview. because obviously you need to talk about these in a lot more detail within your P2 and M1 assignments. I'm not going to go over everything, so I'll go over a few things like I did last week. Not last week, the week before last. I will be going over some of it, but not all of it. You will have to do some research yourself as well. You are year twos, I would expect you to do research, and thing is, a lot of this is self-explanatory. And if you have any trouble, just let us know. If you try to contact us again last thing before it's due, which one or two of you have again done this week, I've got no sympathy for you because you've got all week to actually contact us. So please contact us before Friday when it's due in. You need to contact us straight away. Really should be looking at these and thinking, right, if you're struggling, contact us either on the Thursday when we do have them sessions or any time before then. Like we are available so we can answer your questions. A few people have already contacted me and I've granted them an extension, but that's why. So please get in touch if you do have any problems. Don't leave it to the last minute and then expect us to do anything about it. Authentication. So this gets confused with authorization and authentication. They are separate things, but authentication is basically to see if the person that you're claiming to be or user that you're claiming to be is actually you. Obviously, you might be logging on as potentially somebody else, and obviously that means it's not. So say like I tried to log in as Paul at the college, that's not being authentic. Like it's using his login details, but it's not authentic because I'm trying to log on as him. It's not. I'm not being a genuine user essentially. But obviously, there's a number of different ways to be authenticate onto a system. There is no perfect way. Obviously, there are things put in place to stop that because it's hard to basically prove that you are who you say you are online because a lot of it is done through passwords or usernames or things like that. But anybody can use your password and username if they've stolen it, for example. But obviously, username and password is the main one that we use still for a lot of different website stuff because it's quick and easy to put in. But obviously, because it's quick and easy, it can have a lot of issues behind it. It's been one that's used for many years now because it's obviously very common. It's very easy. It's easy to understand why you'd need both. That's why it's still used now, but it's not the most ideal form of authentication, really. Um, Obviously, authentication could be biometrics, like I said before, because that would be personal to actually, your own body, essentially. So either your thumbprints or your face or anything like that, because obviously that's coming in more and more technology now to stop people from being able to hack into stuff. Two-factor authentication is another one. Obviously, that means they need to send stuff to your phone, usually either by text or by ringing you or by even through an authenticator app. Like that's why it's called an authenticator app because it proves that it's you. I have had it before where somebody's tried to log into my account and my authenticator app has said, "Is this you?" And I'm like, "Well, no, it's not because obviously I'm sat doing something else." So, um, oh, and it's actually on there. I didn't realize this was actually the next point, but yeah. So, two-step authentication is a way of doing it. But like I said before, authorization is not the same as authentication. Um, Authorization is how much a user is able to access on a network. So, for example, I'm authorized to go onto the staff drive at college, whereas you as students are not. So, authorization is different. Authentication is just saying, are you the person you're saying you are? Authorization is what have you actually got access to as the person you say you are. So, personal access control is obviously you've probably heard of this before somewhere because obviously this is used in a lot more devices now, especially phones and stuff like that. But it's basically how you as an individual are authenticated onto either a network or the internet or your own personal device or anything like that. So again, biometrics. I've already covered quite a few ways you can be authenticated by biometrics. But because obviously biometrics are unique to you, um, it should be able to be used for quite a lot of things to get onto like devices or computers or anything like that because it is for you and it's a bit more difficult to crack. It's not the most secure thing in the world by any means, but it's more secure than just using username and password, obviously. Um, digital signatures. So digital signatures could be like your lanyard. Your lanyard's got a RFID chip in it. That's technically personal to you, and it's got a digital signature on it saying that that is you. So that would be one. Again, just talked about that. Obviously, because of these things, you can just get onto either device or through a door or anything, like without having to go through the rigmarole of putting in your password and stuff. Like, I know they don't have it at North Notts College, but at our sister sites at DVC, so Durham Valley and Rotherham, you have to use cards to get through the door, so your lanyards. So you'd have to scan your lanyard to actually get through the door. Um, that's a quick way of just getting users, well, people who are part of the college from A to B, and make sure that you are who you say you are because it's your lanyard. Obviously, it's not the perfect thing in the world because somebody could either replicate your lanyard or steal it, and then they can just get onto the premises. But obviously, it's more secure than just letting anybody walk on. But is there any more that you can think of? Because that's something you'll need to look at. Like, what other personal things could you use to authenticate yourself onto things? Um, because obviously they're not all perfect for security. Like I said, people can steal things. Um, we did try it, I think, last year, but using a photo of like Face ID, sometimes it works. Most times, like they've tried to stop against that because for obvious reasons. Um, but I want you to sort of think about how they can be secured or how they can be made more secure. Because obviously the technologies for biometrics and personal access control is not perfect by any means. Um, Encryption, I'm sure you've heard thousands and thousands of times about encryption. There's so many different encryption techniques out there. It's obviously used to make sure your password or file or whatever you're using that you want to be secure basically makes it unreadable unless you have the decryption key or decryptor somewhere just to be able to undo the encryption so you can see exactly what's on it because you don't want people to steal your data because they could literally and this is how I used to work somewhere. This is absolutely true. I'm going to tell you a story now, so I'm going to go into full screen mode. This is true. One place I used to work for before I used to work at the college, they had a network system where you would do backups. So you would take out basically like a giant hard drive, and it was, I think it was something like uh, petabytes or something like something really big to hold a network on per day, and they had five of these, so you could swap it out every day for a week. And somebody had walked in. I can't remember the specifics of it, but somebody essentially had walked in and nicked one. So they'd stolen one of the backup hard drives at like terabytes big, not terabytes, petabytes big. And what they'd done is they'd nicked it, but because the files were encrypted on it, they couldn't get anything off of it. So obviously, people can walk up and nick things. That is a thing that does happen. I've not seen it since then. It's very rare that that happens because obviously your building's usually secure. I'm not going to make any comments about our college for obvious reasons, but I would say it probably is secure for that sort of stuff. I would hope. Anyway, that being said, so if we go back onto encryption, obviously code can only be decrypted using the same encryption method that was used to actually encrypt it in the first place. Because if you just had an encryption that was a well-known encryption, so say like you, in fact, I'm going to make this a little bit more interactive because why not? So I was just talking about IP addresses for this, but say for example, um, for your encryption. So say like you had the word password, which is a terrible password, but say you've got the word password for your password, and you decide that you're going to replace each letter with the letter behind it. So instead of P being P, it'd be O. So it basically moves back one. And then A would turn to Z. T would BR. I had to work that out then. I actually went through the alphabet in my head because it's hard to work backwards when you. It's easier to go forwards than it is backwards. That's V because I always remember VW. N Q and that's C. So say that that's an encrypted password now. So all these have been taken backwards by one. That is a terrible encryption because you could just run it through like a simple decryptor and it would work it out probably within about a few seconds, if that. Um, so obviously you need an encryption that's going to be incredibly hard to crack because you don't want something that's just easy for anybody online just to sort of pick up and go, oh, this is what you need to do just to crack it. So it needs to be something difficult. Now AES is quite a commonly used one. The algorithm for it is ridiculous. If I tried to do it in this video, it would probably take me about 2 hours to actually show you how it all does it. So I'm not going to show you. But this is one of the most used methods for encryption because it's basically impossible to crack. You could give a supercomputer thousands of years and it still wouldn't get anywhere close. That's how uncrackable it is. So for a human to do it, it's nigh on impossible, more or less. So it converts things into a cipher. So a cipher is just basically the answer key of how each letter or each number or anything within a password or piece of data is changed from one thing to another. So the cipher that I used just in the example before this, with changing each letter back one in the alphabet, that's a basic Caesar cipher. It basically just replaces a letter with another letter in the alphabet. As soon as you work out which letter that is, you can then just crack the rest of it. But most ciphers now are incredibly complex, where it might be that it changes one letter into another, but then the letter next to it is changed based upon what the first letter was changed into. And it can get really complicated. So I'm not going to go over it too much because it's impossible. Um, so obviously that's why you need a key. If you don't have this key, which is basically a cipher, you don't know how to encrypt and decrypt the data. That's why if you ever lose a piece of data and somebody steals it, it's more or less impossible to crack. And if you ever, for whatever reason, forget or lose where the key is, you're going to have a real difficult time to decrypt the data. In fact, it's probably lost to time if that happens. As I said, outside attackers shouldn't be able to do it. A 256-bit key encryption is used, so you will have done that with Paul with 256 bits. That is a ridiculous amount of combinations. So, like I said, it's 1.1 times 10 to the 77, which, if memory serves, there is what 9 zeros in a billion. So, if you divide 77 by 9, you get what? Roughly about. So it's a billion. So it's billion times 8. So it'd be a billion time combination. It would be impossible to crack. So you cannot crack it at all. With this encryption, then, like I said, I've added videos on Google Classroom on how some other encryption methods work. I'm not going to go over them because there's way too many and there's loads, but some other folks have done videos and they're really good on them, so I suggest you take a look. You need to see how these encryption techniques are used to help secure data. Obviously, are the encryption methods secure because they may not be, some of them. Some of them might be useful for some areas but not for others. How do you receive data? So how do you retrieve data if something is lost? Like I said, it's going to be pretty much impossible. I mean, there is a way around it, but the videos will explain that. You would have to set a computer running it for maybe years sometimes just to get it to be cracked. Obviously, you can't really brute force it, but have a look. Like, answer these questions essentially in your assignment. If you answer these questions for encryption and stuff, you will easily hit the pass mark for it, like absolutely easily. So, I'm only going to quickly go over intrusion detection systems because I'll go over this in more detail probably the week after next. Sorry, not the week after next. Next week because these go up on Monday, so it'll be the Monday after. But essentially, intrusion detection systems I've already mentioned are just for detecting if your network is being attacked currently. Obviously, systems are in place just to check that if something does go wrong, it notifies everybody and says something is really wrong here. Firewalls are obviously used to filter out stuff like that, so traffic in and out of your network, and they will usually pick up if anything weird or erroneous comes through, so they will usually tell you, oh dear, there's a virus or something coming through. I've just said that, so that's good. So any uh, like firewall stuff, or anything that can be used to detect this, usually you will put it over the internet. So anything coming in and out of the internet, you'll put on. But obviously, some people could distribute malware from inside the network. So if you say like somebody at college went onto one of the machines and put a virus on through a memory stick, um, they need to watch out for that as well. So firewalls can't just be set up for the internet; it needs to be for other things as well. Um, so so the file monitoring system, for example, that picked up stuff last year for a few people. If you remember who you people were, um, so obviously that's used to detect if anything dodgy is going on. Because if they pick up that somebody's got a dodgy file or something that isn't right, they could stop it before it even gets infected the network. So if they detect something really bad and it says something like virus in massive letters or something on it, they will obviously stop it from going on the network altogether. They'll just completely ban it so you can't even get on. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to go over too much for intrusion detection systems because I'll go over that another day. But that's basically a rough overview. So have a quick look into stuff like that because it shouldn't be that massive anyway. Hopefully, that's more or less covered everything for P2. I'll probably go over some more stuff maybe the week after, but most of it should be research based anyway. I've said that in your P2 criteria that most of it is research based. Unfortunately, this unit is more or less research and written based just because of what's happening at the minute. We've had to do this one first. There is practical with it. I don't know how we're going to do the practical yet. I will try and figure that out. I'm in talks with Paul and Josh and basically everybody at college in terms of how we can do practical because obviously we're not allowed to touch things, so I will try and keep you updated on stuff like that. And just because some people have not turned up, we've not heard from a few of you for a few weeks now. So if you are watching these videos and you've not been in for 2 weeks, you need to come in next Monday really because we need to see you and make sure that you're actually getting on with stuff because some people have not handed anything in at all and we've not heard from them at all. Um, Obviously, we want to help you out as much as possible, so if you're stressing about stuff, just come see us. We're not going to bite your head off or anything. You know us. Like, some of you have been with us for nearly 3 years now, so, just come and speak to us. We're not going to do anything bad. Promise. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this video up. I'm probably not gonna put this in bite-sized chunks for this week. I might do. If you guys do want it in bite-sized chunks, just let me know and I'll chop it up and you can view it. Hopefully, so yeah. Good luck, and I will probably speak to you at some point in the week.